Blah!
What cute thing dares disturb the sound of silence?
The sound of silence. What cute thing? Rude. Well, since that was a fast break, it was just a fajitas. And I may or may not have scarfed them down. Scarf. Upgrade. Evolve. Into Boka. No, I don't want to put that right now. Grr. Oh. Your bone was max on my ears.
Chat, our mission, if we choose to accept it, is to bully the backer into going to bed and getting enough rest for their unexpected night shift. This message will self-destruct in T-9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5. Nuclear launch initiated.
No! You can't do it. You can't. I'm not allowed.
Hug, Boka. How much longer of stream you plan to do?
Well, the plan was to go like 9-10 hours, maybe even till like New Year's time. That plan has been absolutely ruined.
Well, yeah, but you got work, so what now?
I'm so sad that I'm not gonna get to do New Year's with you guys. Probably another 2 hours. Before you try to bully me off of stream, I go in at like 7 and I sleep on the couch. Yes, is it Bumbo-ish? No. Yes. But do every single one of the guests understand why I'm sleeping there? Yes. They all say, you got some sleep before your shift? And I'm like, yeah. They're like, good. That shows you how nice most of the guests are at my hotel. And I haven't heard any complaints from my boss. Mostly because it means I'm not behind the desk. And that's one of the things they were tired of. I know they were a little frustrated with me. Because I kept hanging out with whoever's on shift behind the desk with them. Just watching videos and stuff on the computer.
Bokath 1 Pat, Bokath 1 Heart, that's super nice.
But yeah, I get about an hour, 2 hours sleep, if not more. And I have someone there that will wake me up before they leave. In case I almost sleep overtime.
Ruined, you say? Absolutely, you say? Then we need to aggressively head pat the backer till their day is better. Bokath 1 Pat, Bokath 1 Pat,
No!
Bokath 1 Pat, Bokath 1 Pat.
There's salsa stuck in my throat. There goes my plan to play Metaphor Refantagio for most of the stream. What do we do, chat? What do we do? Oh, I know what we do. Vulkan, give me, could you send me the link for, Dragon Boy for Vulkan? I want to have that done and released sometime tomorrow. It's okay if it's not ready first thing tomorrow, but like maybe like near middle of the day tomorrow, if possible. But no staying up to edit it.
Bokath 1 Pat, Bokath 1 Pat, Bokath 1 Pat, is your day better yet?
No!
Bokath 1 Pat,
No!
Bokath 1 Pat, Bokath 1 Pat.
Yeah. I already know what one of the new emotes I want is. Woo! Guys, tomorrow, guys, get excited tomorrow. Tomorrow I might be able to get new emotes. Because my emote girl, she said, my emote friend, my bestest friend, she said, she says, maybe at the start of New Year, I might be free. And I screamed at her, I was like, I call dibs! And then she just sent a cat, suddenly accelerated into my face. So yeah, we're gonna react to this. Keto! Yes, I did sneeze 3 times in a row.
Sent you Vulkan. The first one is his lore, the others are funny shorts.
Funny shorts? I like short shorts, you like short shorts, I like short shorts.
Bless you, that was loud even for lowered volume.
It was loud? No, don't say that. I thought I held it in mostly. Alright. Who likes short shorts? I like short shorts. Rah! Rah, rah, rah. Vulkan! The dragon boy. The goodest boy. Or so I'm told. Will he be the goodest boy? Will he be Boka's chosen? Find out next time on Bookball.
What is it with femboys and short shorts?
You have no proof of either of those things. You don't know. I'm up here. I forget what I was gonna say. The booms got me. Blah. Blah. Why does it say Lord of Drakes? He's not Lord of Dragons? Or is that someone else? Oh, is the planet like purple or something? That would explain why their skin's black. Like stained black. Is like the ultraviolet rays of purple cause their skin to be stained like a dark purple or like black. Volume?
Never think that war, no matter how necessary, nor how justified, is not a crime. Ernest Hemingway. War is a cruel place for a kind person, and though the Primarchs were generals bred for war, there has always been one that has struggled with being a living weapon. Vulkan, Primarch of the Salamanders, is described as the most human of all the Primarchs, and was known for his dislike of war. An outlook on life established by his upbringing and the life he experienced as a Primarch of a Space Marine Legion. The beginning of his story starts with his gestation capsule being torn from the Emperor's side by the dark powers of the Immaterium. Hurtled through the maddening and dangerous warp, the gestation capsule was spit out into real space towards the planet of Nocturne, located in the Ultima Segmentum, a death world. A planet with great deserts, acidic deltas, inland seas and oceans. Though as a result of tectonic stresses produced by the gravitational pull of its moon Prometheus, there are vast chains of active volcanoes scattered across the planet's surface, combined with frequent earthquakes. Unfortunately, these constant volcanic eruptions have
The land of dragons.
covered the world in a cloak of dust and ash.
Right.
It obscures most sunlight to the surface. Any sense of stability on this dangerous world is fleeting, as once every 15 Terran years, Prometheus and Nocturne approach so closely that the planet is almost torn to pieces by the resulting gravitic stresses. This is called the time of trial. Vast tidal waves crash across the seas, extreme weather temperature changes, thousands of volcanic explosions, the ash further blotting out the sun, while powerful earthquakes constantly ravage the land. You would think that on such a dangerous world it would destroy any inhabitants, but you would be wrong, and Nocturne teems with life, even in the least expected places.
One of the only creatures probably able to live there? Dragons.
One of the larger volcanic mountains on Nocturne is named Mount Deathfire. This is where massive, great fire-resistant reptiles called salamanders live. Even the deserts teem with
Salamanders are like lesser dragons. They're basically fire elementals.
prehistoric-looking reptiles and creatures. Hard places often breed hardened people, and by some miracle humanity exists on Nocturne, in the form of numerous tribes. Strangely enough, the people of Nocturne have been slightly mutated by their constant exposure to the high levels of radiation born from constant eruptions. They have developed deep ebony skins, regardless of their original ethnicities, and the irises of their eyes now glow red in the darkness. Over many generations.
The glowing red eyes, I feel like that's like a low light ash kind of thing. Is they needed their eyes evolved to like adapt to that strain, and with red eyes, the constant like super hot glow of lava would not hurt their eyes as much. as any other color.
generations, they have evolved the ability to see into the infrared levels of electromagnetic spectrum to deal
That's pretty cool.
with this constant volcanic pollution that blocks out their world's light.
Yeah, I figured it was to do with the volcanic. That's a magic card. That's a magic card, sir. That's
On
a
this
magic
world
card.
of near constant night, like a blazing comet, the infant Vulkan in the 30th millennium burned through the atmosphere of Nocturne in his gestation capsule, crashing directly into the home of a black smiter, a blacksmith by the name of Nebel, in the city settlement of Hesiod. In the crater that was the home, Nebel found a child, a human descending from the sky. Perhaps this boy was the one prophesied to be a savior by the teachings of Nocturne's set of religious and cultural beliefs, the Promethean cult. Nebel saw this boy as a gift to Nocturne, and may have believed that he was given him as a sacred task. So he took in this child as his own, and named him Vulkan. Like all the Primarchs, Vulkan grew very quickly, reaching full adulthood by the age of only 3 Terran years. He was also highly intelligent, able to vastly improve the already considerable metalworking skills of the famed smiths of Nocturne. Quickly he had risen in strength and wisdom, embracing the culture which had taken him up, working in his adopted father's forge. Vulkan was raised with all the knowledge they could offer him, but most importantly, they gave him love and community. Unfortunately, during Vulkan's 4th year, Hesiod was attacked by the Dark Eldar, who were on a slave-taking expedition. The people of his hometown hid, as they usually did when the decadent Xenos came raiding. These cruel Xenos were attacking his home, his community. Vulkan refused to hide. Armed with only a pair of blacksmith's hammers, he
took them all out, didn't he? He became draconic.
roused the people from
Draconic!
hiding and drove back the assault, single-handedly slaying 100 Dark Eldar. As word of this defiance spread, the headsmen of 7 of the most important settlements on the planet came to pay homage to Vulkan, swearing to fight rather than let fear prevail. He was the Fireborn, a legendary defender whose superhuman strength had defied the foul Xenos.
Oh my god, it's so scuffed. Sorry. Best I can do.
In celebration of the Primarch's victory over the Dark Eldar, a tournament of various contests involving tests of strength and craftsmanship,
Look, he took hammer time to the extreme.
common to the people of Nocturne, was held. As the contestants gathered, a pale stranger the size of Vulkan appeared, claiming he could best any man at the competition, causing many people to laugh at the comparison to the superhuman Vulkan. Vulkan accepted the challenge, and the stranger wagered that whoever lost the challenge would swear his eternal loyalty and obedience to the victor. With a smile at such a boast, Vulkan agreed to the stranger's terms. Many of the contests had to be called a draw between Vulkan and the pale stranger, for there was simply no way to determine a victor. For instance, the anvil lift, where the contestants were required to hold an anvil aloft above their heads for as long as possible. It ended in a tie when the 2 superhuman competitors both held anvils aloft for half a day with no sign of tiring, while all the other competitors had given up after mere minutes. Time and time again, each contest ended in a draw, and by
I don't quite understand the anvil hold. But okay.
the end, Vulkan and the stranger were tied. The elders devised one last definitive test. Both contestants were given 24 hours to forge a weapon before using that weapon to hunt down and slay one of Nocturne's most deadly reptilians, a salamander. The final contest was to determine who would swear eternal loyalty to the victor.
I didn't hiccup. Shut up, chat. Wait, so the... Was he his father's favorite? Because he personally came. And he had to, like... That's funny.
The final trial had begun, the salamander slaying. Vulkan and the pale stranger began the forging of their weapons that they could bring down the beasts with. They worked all day at their forges, neither pausing to rest. As the day drew to a close, they emerged. Vulkan had forged a huge warhammer, and the stranger a keen-edged sword. Like the beginning of a great quest or epic, the two superhumans climbed to the summit of Mount Deathfire. The volcano is said to be the home of the large...
Wait, so if he was one of the first found, am I right in guessing most of the, I guess, evil Primarchs or traitor Primarchs were one of the last found?
Just fire drake salamanders, the deadliest creature the planet had to offer. After hours of searching through the ash and the smog-ridden slopes, Vulkan found his prey first, smashing its head off with a single blow from his hammer. As he carried the carcass back, disaster struck as the volcano unexpectedly erupted. Vulkan was nearly thrown off a cliff, but managed to grab onto the edge with one hand, stubbornly grasping the tail of his prize with the other. Vulkan had the inhuman strength of a Primarch and held on for several hours, but his hold eventually began to slip. Was this the end for the young Primarch? A fall down to a fiery death in lava? Or drop his prize and swear eternal loyalty to a stranger? It was at that time the stranger reappeared, carrying a salamander larger than his own. The stranger quickly threw his carcass into the lava flow, using the heat-resistant hide as a bridge to cross over and save Vulkan. Vulkan was declared the winner when he returned home, since he had a salamander hide and the stranger had lost his. But Vulkan silenced the crowd. He knelt before the stranger. This man could have won easily, but he sacrificed his pride because he valued the life of his opponent more. Vulkan declared that any...
That is pretty, like, very selfless of him. Like, yeah, it's his son, but also... He, like, without even questioning, just threw down his prize to make sure he could get to Vulkan and save him.
Any man who valued life over human pride was worthy of his service. At that moment, the stranger at last revealed himself to the Primarch, his true nature as the Emperor of mankind, his true father. Vulkan's father had need of his service, for there was a great mission, a great crusade to reunite all of the colonies of mankind across the stars and protect them from Xenos like the Dark Eldar. The Emperor told Vulkan,
"I won't lie. There has been blood spilled on this journey, and there will be more. I never imagined the enlightenment of mankind would be an easy task, nor one accomplished without violence, however regrettable."
The Emperor's eye seemed to cloud over for a moment then, lost in abstract thought.
"I have had failures, some of which I shall never speak of."
My brothers? The Emperor did not answer, and that was answer enough. Will you not tell me of them? Are they like me?
"Utterly unlike you,"
said the Emperor, brightening.
"And that is your single greatest trait, my proudest achievement."
See, I figured Vulkan might be one of the favorites. And I bet anything, the reason he's one of the favorite is he's more human than the rest of them.
To conquer the galaxy and expand the Imperium of Man, Vulkan had not the strength to do it alone. He would do it at the head of an army of warriors implanted with his gene seed. The 18th Legiones Astartes, the Dragon Warriors Legion, his sons. The creation of the 18th was established largely in separation from the rest, as it is generally thought to be created for very specific ends. There were none save perhaps a handful of the Emperor's closest and earliest allies who knew the facts regarding this mystery. What was clear early on was that the gene seed of Vulkan had a low success rate.
I would figure he's like the most trusted to do the right thing, because being the most human, he has both empathy and a human conscience. Like,
recruits. Many young boys of
dangerous
Terra
outside? Oh,
would
no.
die in the recruitment of this legion, but those who survived joined the Brotherhood. Combined with the slow recruitment, the legion, even in its earliest engagements, had gained a reputation. They often achieved a victory against impossible odds and survived, although barely, taking heavy losses, which reduced the new legion's active strength from around 20,000 to little more than 1,000 warriors. Although in doing so they secured themselves a place of glory and honour in the psyche of the Imperium's forces. For an Imperial army unit to be assigned alongside the 18th Legion was a sign that the forthcoming battle would be a dangerous affair, be it to break a siege, disrupt a counterattack, or hold the line against an alien onslaught in order to protect civilians. They would plunge into the deadliest frays, holding the line for others, but in doing so their casualties were enormous. This battle doctrine had almost seemed like a death wish. This constant self-sacrifice was morally right, but tactically flawed. This battle doctrine is not something new, as seen within our own history with the last stand at the Battle of Thermopylae. In 480 BCE, Xerxes led a vast army overland, accompanied by a
is his entire faction basically based off Spartans? Because that's badass if that's the case.
substantial fleet moving along the coast. His forces quickly seized in northern Greece and began moving south. The Greek resistance tried to halt the Persian progress on land at the narrow
They held them at the Black Gates.
pass of Thermopylae. The Greek army was led by Leonidas, who was estimated to have around 7.
Wait, is this Warhammer adjacent history? Leonidas? It's Leonidas.
7,000 men. Xerxes, on the other hand, had anywhere between
got hit with
70,000 to
3 rifles?
300,000. The Greek strategy involved holding a line only a few dozen yards long between a steep hillside and the sea. This constricted battlefield had prevented the Persians from utilizing their vast numbers. For 2 days the Greeks defended against the Persian attacks and suffered light losses as they imposed heavy casualties on the Persian army. But the Greeks were betrayed and were now facing encirclement. But 300 Spartans and a few Greek allies stayed, knowing that this meant their death. Like the dragon warriors, they could have used guerrilla tactics, denying battle, or other options, but they stayed and held the line because it meant that others would survive. It was a guaranteed death, but like the Greeks at Thermopylae, the ethos of the dragon warriors meant that they had gone beyond the fear of death. But that very defiance of fear meant that they would suffer the losses of countless brothers.
So they're basically the will not surrender nor retreat faction.
Vulkan had been found by the Emperor and was set on the path to become the leader of the Dragon Warriors Legion, but in truth he was not ready. Vulkan was strong and fiercely intelligent, but he had no experience of true war. He had spent most of his life as a blacksmith and the occasional hunter, So for a number of years after his discovery, he stayed alongside the Emperor under his direct tutelage, during which time his presence was kept a secret from the wider the Imperium. During this period, Vulkan learned with frightening speed and comprehension, studying in the arts of war, history, science, constantly displaying his ferocious intelligence, and also wisdom and compassion that were perhaps at odds with the role he had been destined to play as a Primarch. It was in his training that Vulkan met with his brother Primarch Ferrus Manus of the Iron Hands. As Vulkan engaged in his first battle, the Emperor and Ferrus observed
Not
the
if
new
there is a
Primarch.
human civilian or brother behind them,
He
but if
is
there is no
impressive,
one behind them,
he
they won't die
admitted,
just to hold
then
territory.
turned disdainful.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying, though, is... if there's anybody behind them, you're not getting past them. Over their dead body. You will sacrifice a lot to get past them.
But Russ and Horace, even Fulgrim, they match his prowess. I see nothing special about him.
You'll see.
Said the Emperor. And he did, as it was their common love of forging and creation that bonded the two Primarchs. Ferrus was stubborn and abrasive at times, and pursued the glory offered in war, almost the complete opposite of the humble and passive Vulkan. But in a strange way, they complemented each other. Though they walked different paths, they still had the same destination. Perhaps being with
Which makes them, like, the faction that uses the most flame weapons make a lot of sense. Because you're going to take a lot of damage trying to get past them if they're using flamethrowers. They have no care of what's in front of them. They have only care for what's behind them. So they're going to be very, like, brutal and savage to you. And you're going to have to, like, get through that. Basically through the fire and the flames, ironically. To get past them.
Ferrus, another Primarch, Vulkan had met an equal. As with any of his brothers, they often felt a sense of loneliness being so...
And this was a kind of a surprise to me. Are they, like, the defensive of the factions? It sounds like they are. Which is, like, kind of surprising when you think dragon. You think aggressive. But, yeah, well, no. You also think of, like, guarding a horde. You think of fiercely defensive. But I guess, yeah, that makes sense in that way, too.
different compared to the average human. As the brothers bonded, Vulkan and Ferrus fought side by side, finally giving Vulkan the experience and wisdom he needed to assume the leadership of his own legion. When Vulkan came to his legion, it was in the hour of their greatest need. The 18th, led by their Lord Commander Cassian Vaughn, had become caught in the rearguard defense of a cluster colony worlds against a wave of orcs.
Versus the Tech Marines. Well, that's what I'm saying. Fire and Forge and stuff. I'm assuming, but the Salamanders sound like they're a very defensive faction. It sounds like they're constantly put on like very impossible odds defense missions. They basically sound like they're treated as the Spartans of their lore? Not lore, universe, I guess?
With the other forces of the Imperium engaged
Maybe?
elsewhere, this dangerous task was left to the 18th Legion, the Dragon Warriors. Fighting against vast and overwhelming odds, the Legion's primary forces, numbering some 19,000 Space Marines, had marshaled the local defenders and held out for nearly a standard year, repelling battles against well over 1 million orcs, scattered across hundreds of ramshackle ships.
So basically, the final defense or the first offense. Basically, the two parts of the offense and defense that are the most casualty heavy. And apparently they always succeed, so it's literally a dragon. A dragon's gonna take a lot of, like, damage and stuff, but they're usually gonna win.
asteroid vessels, and dozens of space hulks. The actions of the Legion had allowed the evacuation of 3 entire planetary populations to safety, but at a terrible cost. As the conflict progressed, their casualties became insurmountable. Brothers and friends were dying. They even suffered the grievous wounding of their commander. The remainder of the 18th had become all but trapped on the death world of Antiem, a lightning rod drawing the orcs to battle them. As they bled the orc forces, they saved countless human lives. But the stubborn resolve of the 18th meant that they
And I bet you anything, the Salamanders are one of the factions that's sent to fight the orcs the most.
would not retreat. They would succeed or die, as they had done for decades. Was he truly ready? He had to be, as Vulkan learned of the dire situation his legion was in. They were on the brink of annihilation, and Vulkan had learned early in his life to never abandon those in need of help. But when Vulkan would arrive, he would not do so alone, for he brought with him 3,000 new initiates, the first of the legion to be raised from Nocturne, along with a host of new warships, war machines and arms, all fabricated to the Primarch's own exacting specifications. They fell upon the orcs like a hammer and shattered the largest of the space hulks orbiting Antiem. Spurred on by unexpected aid, the rest of the 18th hurled themselves in a renewed fury at the orcs besieging them, slaughtering and scattering the green-skinned Xenos before them. In the aftermath, the two halves of the 18th Legion met and were unified upon Antium's dead coral plains. As the survivors removed their helms, and the Terran legionaries looked upon the face of their brothers, they saw their Gene Father. They could not help but know that they were one, and their Primarch had come to claim them. The survivors of the Terran 18th knelt immediately. "No," said Vulkan. "Rise, my sons. I am your father, not your king. We do not kneel in fealty." They looked up at him, and after a hesitation, got to their feet again. Vulkan was not finished. Kneeling is an act of respect. It is a tribute that must be earned, and you have earned it. He knelt, and the Legion in its entirety murmured in awe. Your sacrifices to save the people of Tarsus Division will be remembered forever. You performed what was the impossible, and made this sacrifice without hesitation, knowing your task doomed you, and that it was thankless. But I give you my thanks now." He bowed his head. Seeking out the mortally wounded Lord Commander Vaughn, he confirmed the formal transfer of the Legion's mastery by presenting the fallen warrior with the broken power claw of the Orc warlord, the one who had struck him down, to seal the pact between him and his Legion. They would fight for him, but he would fight for them in turn. Understanding Vulkan,
I think I like the cute little grr symbol up there.
is to see that uniquely amongst his brothers, he had true humility. He was a Primarch, but he saw his life no more important than any others. All of humanity was his equal. After the battle at Antiem, Vulkan set about remaking and reforging his Legion, teaching his Terran-born sons the Promethean Creed, the cultural teachings of Nocturne that praised selflessness, but in turn tempered the self-sacrificial nature of the Legion. Vulkan and his sons were one unified force. In honor of this new beginning, the 18th became the Salamanders, named after the fiery drakes of Nocturne, dangerous, and filled with the will of inner fire.
Inner fire. Inner fire!
The Salamanders, a united legion, A combination of the Terran-born veterans with new homeworld recruits often breeds resentment in other Space Marine legions. In this, Vulkan was wise enough to retain and value the experience of the Terran veterans, and he showed them respect and held them in high esteem for what they had accomplished. Vulkan accomplished this by making the Terran's foremost warriors his Pyre Guard, his Praetorians. The elite body of the chapter that would serve both as his honor guard and paragons of the standards that he would set for his legion. For the fallen First Master Cassius Vaughn, Vulkan fashioned with his own hands a unique dreadnought sarcophagus, the Iron Dragon, so that Vaughn could serve as a Castellan and protector of the Prometheus and the future of the Legion. Vulkan had saved his sons and assumed the mantle of leadership of the Legion. With years of battlefield experience and tutelage under Ferrus and the Emperor, he could finally enact the purpose he was created for. The Salamanders joined at the forefront of the Great Crusade, smashing Xenos empires and bringing lost worlds into compliance as part of the Imperium. Although it would never reach the high numbers of legionary strength like the Dark Angels or Iron Warriors, the Legion's power and battle prowess was undeniable.
Happy New
and its
Year. Colertish as well. Got a glass of wine and got more. Colert as you on mute. People nearby.
conduct in war was regarded as exemplary. It had been tempered, retraining the fearlessness and savage spirit for which Vulkan had been renowned. But those traits were now governed and kept in check by stoicism, lack of hubris, teachings of the Promethean creed. Vulkan had brought his legion focus, purpose, and wisdom. It was now said,
I'm gonna be honest, man doesn't look like a good guy, but okay.
of the Salamanders that they were neither quick to anger,
He's got the gas mask thing that's typically put on a really bad guy,
nor prone to rush blindly into battle as they once had been. But once they had decided to unleash their wrath, it was unstoppable, terrifying. There are three things all wise men fear: the sea and the storm, a night with no moon, and the anger of a gentle man. Vulkan was a reflection of the teachings of the Promethean creed, humble, wise and noble, but at the end of the day, he was a living weapon. Buried within him was a fury any enemy should be wary of unleashing. The Great Crusade was spreading across the galaxy. For over 200 years, Vulkan and his sons went from war zone to war zone, imparting imperial compliance. Though Vulkan was a great warrior, there'll be one act of compliance that will forever change his feelings on war: the world of Caldera,
where have I heard that name before?
known as Ibsen by its inhabitants. The Salamanders were tasked with bringing this newly discovered world into compliance. Led by Vulkan himself, the 18th Legion was joined by the Iron Hands and Death Guard legions, both led by their own respective primarchs. Caldera was largely inhospitable to human life, but possessed valuable mineral deposits. However, the Imperial...
Let me guess, are these are night elves, aren't they? No, not night elves, they're these elves? I remember what
forces faced
faction
stiff
it's called.
resistance for control of the planet from the Eldar, who had
Yeah,
placed
Eldar,
a garrison. The mystery deepened when the semi-feral primitive human tribes inhabiting the planet seemed more sympathetic to the Eldar, or at the very least not welcoming to their human liberators. This was a common problem that the Salamanders came across: 7-foot-tall, obsidian-skinned warriors with piercing red eyes. Common humans were often afraid at the sight of them. After defeating the Craftworld Eldar, Vulkan learned that they were guiding a webway portal. They had found a crude warding ceremony taking place, conducted by the primitive human tribal priests, attempting to sacrifice a Dark Eldar witch. Vulkan had learned that the primitive humans had worshipped the craft world Eldar, as they had inadvertently set them free from their previous dark Eldar oppressors. The people of this world were mad, violent and unfortunately irredeemable. Vulkan reluctantly ordered the world to be cleansed by flame. It was
Dead planet.
perhaps the first time in his
Dead
life where
planet.
Vulkan had truly failed, and he was forced
Bye bye planet.
to destroy an entire human population. Vulkan loved crafting and forging, like on his homeworld of Nocturne, not butchering civilizations. Though he agreed with the Great Crusade, he clearly had begun to disdain the cruelty of war. Not long after the successful conclusion of this campaign, Vulkan and his Salamanders Legion participated in another joint Imperial compliance action on the world known as Karatan, alongside the Primarch Conrad Kurz and his Night Lords Legion.
Is he a bad guy or a good guy? Let's leave it to Warhammer, and they would totally make the vampires good, but I'm not assuming that.
During this campaign, Vulkan was disgusted with his brother Conrad,
Okay, so bad guy. Got it.
and how his legion brutally conducted themselves. During one notable incident, the Night Lords slaughtered the inhabitants of an entire city in order to seed fear amongst the general population. Vulkan was beyond furious. How could his brother be so vile and cruel to innocents just
He was loyal back then, but he was never a good guy. Okay, yeah, okay.
caught up in war?
I thought maybe Warhammer would do the whole, oh, they look evil, totally good guys.
His fury led to a brief conflict between the two. After the successful conclusion of this campaign, Vulkan reported Kurz's conduct to both War Master Horus and his brother Primarch Rogel Dawn. These two Primarchs were almost the complete opposite of each other. Conrad was raised alone on the cold streets of Nostramo, whereas Vulkan was raised in a home with family, community and love. Conrad relied on these tactics of terror, fear and denying battle, whereas Vulkan would fight head-on, shielding the innocent.
The Raven dude would be the looks evil but is actually a good guy trope. Are we talking about the full black armored legion?
This disdain for each other would only grow over the final years of the Great Crusade, leading to consequences down the line.
My mans, your head don't look like it fits your body, kinda.
The inconceivable.
Like built like a brick house. Square right there.
Happened. After 200 years of war dedicated to the Imperium of Man, Horus Lupercal of the Sons
It's
of
got a square head here. I got blocks on my head.
Horus betrayed the Emperor. Vulkan and Korax arrived first into the traitor's location and found 4 legions fortified upon the world of Istvan V. They were weary of their position, but upon learning that 4 remaining legions were mere hours away, the newly arrived Ferrus Manus convinced his brothers Korax and Vulkan to attack immediately. And so began one of the bloodiest battles in the history of the Imperium. Previous friends and allies clashed in a storm of hate. Horus had once been Vulkan's friend, the first found son that most of the Primarchs looked up to, but Horus had betrayed them and the vision of their father.
That's kind of crazy. And from what I understand of how the Emperor talks to Vulkan, he knew Horus was a traitor.
A galaxy at peace. The Iron Hands and Raven Guard and Salamanders clashed against the traitors, Vulkan and Ferrus unleashing their primordial strength. Power as furious as the fire in the forge. The first wave attack was smashing against the traitors' line, but with every meter gained, hundreds of Vulkan's sons fell. The Loyalists had pushed deep, but with the arrival of the 4 reinforcing legions, they could finally have some respite, and so they retreated. Ferrous was too stubborn and pushed forward onto Fulgrim, whilst Vulkan and Korax retreated back, finally seeing their reinforcements. But as they hailed them, something was wrong. The Salamanders and Raven Guard could get no answer on the Vox. A haunting silence hung in the air until broken by a flare from Horus's command site. The reinforcing Iron Warriors, Alpha Legion, Night Lords, and Wordbearers opened fire on the Loyalists, catching them completely by surprise. All around him, Vulkan saw his sons slaughtered, dying in their thousands. Terran's sons that he had knelt to. Sons of the people who had raised him on Nocturne. This betrayal of his brother Primarchs was cutting Vulkan to the core, far deeper and more painful than any wound. Vulkan became enraged, fighting with the strength of 1,000 men trying to save his sons, but it was all for naught. As Perturabo sent a nucleonic missile into the heart of the Salamanders. The 18th Legion, the defenders of the innocent, were gone within seconds, emulated in their own armor. Men who had fought, trained, and laughed together were gone.
So far, you guys are probably wondering, who's my least liked faction? It's the Wordbearers. It's absolutely them. You could make your concessions that Horus is a traitor, but from what I've seen of the Wordbearers are just scum. Scum and traitors. Because they pretended to be a friend half the time. At the start.
He was alive. Somehow Vulkan had survived the heart of a nuclear explosion, regenerating thanks to his Primarch genetics, but in truth he knew he should be dead. Around him was the smouldering ruins of his sons, all gone. As the ashes of the Legion blew away in the wind, the forces of the traitors were approaching. There was no escape, but he would not go down so easily, and lashed out at the traitors, but was eventually overwhelmed by sheer numbers of the enemy and was shot, stabbed and bludgeoned into unconsciousness. When the Salamander's Primarch finally awoke, he found himself fettered in massive chains aboard a Galrock hulk belonging to the Night Lords. To his horror, Vulkan saw that he was taken prisoner by the one brother he disliked on a fundamental level.
I feel like they were the ones that were just waiting to be evil. Like Vulkan, I understand. Not Vulkan. Angeron, I understand why he went evil. But Wordbearers have no. So far, I've noticed, and I haven't heard of them having any like horrible upbringing or like contraption that made them have no humanity. They have no excuse. So far, I've seen.
Over the span of several months, the Night Haunter took sadistic pleasure in attempting to break both Vulkan's body and mind. Months of continuous, grueling torture.
Not liking the Night Hunters either.
Physical pain beyond human.
At first I was like, oh cool, vampires, but they just look like that from the offset.
Comprehension and psychological
don't got
horror
any of
in the
the
form of
grace.
twisted games, ending in Vulkan taking innocent life against his will. After one particularly mad display by Conrad, he snapped and beheaded his brother. But to Conrad's immense surprise, Vulkan's body began regenerating. Vulkan had survived Istvan and Conrad's murder. Vulkan was immortal. He was like the Emperor, a perpetual. This caused Conrad to have a psychotic break, continuing to murder his brother thousands of times. But Vulkan returned after each death, only increasing the madness of the Night Haunter. Becoming sick of it.
Basically, the Night Hunter got mad jealous because, nope, true loyalty was rewarded.
His brother's existence, Vulkan's fate would be decided in a duel to the death. Conrad offered his brother a means of escape. All he had to do was navigate a labyrinth, where, at its centre, lay his personal warhammer Dawnbringer. But this was no ordinary maze. At the request of the Night Haunter, the Iron Warriors Primarch Perturabo had crafted a special prison, whose featureless walls and strange geometric design had made it all but impossible to map and escape. Anyone who attempted to mentally map the labyrinth would find that it was hopeless. Conrad toyed with Vulkan, wounding him constantly, but denying death. Vulkan was at the edge of his sanity. He had lost an entire legion of his sons, his friends. His brother Ferris had died on Isfahan. He had been tormented for years. It was in the moment of his greatest suffering that he had a vision of the Emperor in the form of a remembrancer. The Emperor reminded his son that he would watch over all of them when he could, and he calmed Vulkan's mind. Vulkan remembered that the fire that burned within was greater than anything Conrad could do to him. Vulkan goaded Conrad, calling him a weak and pitiful creature, that all of the brothers looked down upon him, that Vulkan had always held back as he was afraid of breaking him. Finally, at the center of the labyrinth, Vulkan found Dawnbreaker. Conrad still taunted Vulkan, asking him if he really thought he could teleport to safety. Vulkan answered, "You're right. I'd fashioned it as a teleporter, a means of escape even a prison such as this. I counted on you leading me here, on you needing to face me one last time. It seems I was fooled into thinking you had planned for this. But you're forgetting one thing. It's also a hammer." Vulkan proceeded to beat the Night Haunter into a pulp. As a physically strongest Primarch, it was like being smashed by a literal mountain. Buying some respite, Vulkan activated the secret teleporter built into the head of the Warhammer. Vulkan was immediately transported halfway across the galaxy and reappeared in the upper atmosphere of the Ultramarine Legion's homeworld of Macragge.
Wait, why Macragge? I'm wondering. But wait, isn't Vulkan still alive? Isn't it like been revealed that he's still alive? So isn't there, at the very least, technically two? Because you still gotta count the Emperor because he's still technically alive. But if you like get really technical, it's just one. One extent there's two, but
Like a blazing
super
comet,
technically there's
Vulkan
only
began
one.
falling to the surface of Macragge, the impact of his body shuddering the surrounding earth. What was left of the Primarch was a smouldering pile of flesh and charred bone. But as he did on Isfahan 5, the Lord of Drakes rose again. As the forces of Ultramar had discovered his corpse that had fallen from orbit, they were baffled as to how this was possible. He was dead, Lord, and then he was not. Life returned where life was not, and could not be. He healed. "You do not heal from death," Guilliman roared. Guilliman, Lionel Johnson, and Sanguinius in the Imperium Secundus had found their beloved brother alive, but something was wrong. Vulkan was insane. All the years of grueling torture combined with crashing into a literal planet had scrambled the sanity of Vulkan. He was not the kind, humble Vulkan of Nocturne. He was an insane beast, lashing out at all the unfamiliar before him. Unfortunately for Vulkan, he was in serious danger. The Night Haunter, who was trapped aboard the Dark Angel's flagship following a failed boarding action during the conclusion of the Thrammer's Crusade, would eventually make his way to the surface of Macragge, wanting to finish what he had started, and finally
I thought he got beaten to a pulp.
kill Vulkan. Escaping his confines, the raving mad Vulkan battled the insane Conrad Kurz. He was aided by a perpetual named John Grammaticus. The perpetual had come to give Conrad a piece of fulgurite, a large natural hollow glass tube formed from beneath the surface of a planet during a lightning strike. This was a result of the Emperor unleashing his infinite psychic power. As the two mad demigods clashed, it would be the Eldar Fireseer Eldrad who managed to convince Jon to forsake the Cabal Masters and choose humanity. Feeling like a traitor to his own for so long, Jon made his choice. He took the Fulgurite and stabbed Vulkan through the chest. The Primarch became still as the night. Jon had decided to side with humanity and sacrificed his perpetual nature to cure the Primarch's madness, but Vulkan was unmoving, showing no signs of life.
But we know he's alive, right?
A
I'd heard
lifeless Vulkan was mourned by the loyalists on the crag, the 3 legions and a myriad of survivors from Istvan. Matters, however, soon changed when First Captain Artelius Numion was successfully saved by an Ultramarine strike force. Many of those amongst the survivors had hoped that their return of their first captain would give them a new sense of purpose to what remained of the Legion. Numion was a close friend of Vulkan, standing by his side for centuries. He refused to believe that he was dead. It was inconceivable to him. Coming together, the 67 surviving Salamanders formed a new brotherhood, the Pyre, and declared their intent. They would attempt to break through the Ruin Storm to return Vulkan to Nocturne, to be properly laid to rest. As their journey encroached upon Nocturne, they were pursued by both the Death Guard and the Word Bearers that had followed the battle barge's course,
I'm getting
intent
really
on
mad
claiming
at
the
the Word
Primarch's
Bearers.
body and the mighty weapon still lodged in his chest. In a last desperate gamble, the battle barge sacrificed itself on the guns of the enemy to allow the 20 survivors of the Pyre, among them Numion, to evacuate Vulkan's casket in a Thunderhawk ship to Nocturne's surface. But the ruse was quickly discovered, and the Thunderhawk was soon severely damaged, causing it to crash land on the surface. But the Pyre were not alone. The Salamander's garrison of Nocturne sallied out to their brothers, in turn slaughtering the Death Guard pursuers. With the enemy defeated and Nocturne
And I
safe,
love how you know how much of a coward Word Bearers are because they didn't follow.
a proper ceremony was conducted to remember Vulkan's passing. All 700 of the last Salamanders in the galaxy dressed in their regalia and performed the final rites of their Primarch. The Salamanders mourned their Primarch, their father, a man who had been a kind and honourable example to them, the one person that they had truly believed in. Their father's body was carried into the fiery heart of Nocturne's sacred mountain, Mount Deathfire, as was the way of the Promethean Creed. In the words of Vulkan, ours is a violent calling, but adherents to the Promethean Creed, we believe in the circle of fire. None can come back as they once were, but in death we are returned to the ash, from whence we came to be born anew, our blood and bone bonded with the earth. Through fire our remains are made protean. Through fire and the reunion with the earth do we experience rebirth. After death, our duty is ended. We give ourselves to the elements, and in so doing become part of them. This is the nature of the circle of fire. No miracle had come. First Captain Artelius Numion was racked by grief. He was a soldier raised in the Imperial truth, but in his heart he knew that this could not be the end for his Primarch. He had faith. Discarding his armour and weapons, Numion scaled Mount Deathfire, and in a leap of faith he sacrificed himself to the mountain, swallowed up in its fire. Realizing the absence of their first captain, the Salamanders raced after Numion, mounting jet bikes which were by far the swiftest way to travel. As the legionaries raced to the Mount Deathfire, they found a solitary figure kneeling in the desert. Rejoicing at having found their comrade and friend, they approached, but as they came close, they fell to their knees. They saw the figure rise unsteadily to his feet, a hand clutching an all too familiar spear tip embedded in his chest. It was their Primarch, their father. Vulkan lived.
Bam. He is the embodiment of I lived. Yeah.
Vulkan lived. The sacrifice of his friend had brought him out of his deep slumber and had healed his fractured psyche. When he first awakened, he found himself in the depths of Mount Deathfire, conversing with an old man, calling himself Deathfire personified. The
Vulkan
man urged Vulkan
Stomp,
to travel to
stomp.
Terra and led the Primarch to two
Stomp,
items
stomp.
that he had no memory of forging: the Thunder Hammer Urdrakul and the Talisman of Seven Hammers. When Vulkan awoke, he was at the steps of Mount Deathfire and was discovered by three of his legionaries, Atok Ambedemi, Barek Zaitos, and Igen Gargo. He had endured so much over the Horus heresy, but Vulkan knew that the Emperor needed his strength. The Primarch used his talisman to open a webway portal deep below Nocturne, perhaps the one that had once terrorized his home in his youth. Vulkan and his three sons entered the webway. Traversing its corridors, they eventually found themselves in the realm of Komora, battling Dark Eldar. They next found themselves with a remnant of Iron Hand's fleet called the Cult of the Gorgon, an order claiming that it had resurrected Ferrus Manus. But upon meeting the supposed reborn Ferrus, Vulkan discovered it to be little more than a mechanical puppet with one of Ferrus's mechanical arms attached. A disgusting mockery of one of his greatest friends and brothers. He destroyed the false puppet, once again reminded of the cruelty of war that the heresy had brought. After many more harrowing fights, Vulkan and his sons finally made it to Terra with the assistance of Eldrad Ulthran, putting them before the Imperial Palace. It was here where Vulkan would reunite with his brother Rogel Dawn of the Imperial Fists. It had been before Istvan since they had last spoken. "I would embrace you, brother," Vulkan confessed, "but that was never your way." Dawn laughed gruffly.
Abstination is a wise decision.
Vulkan embraced him firmly anyway. Vulkan has always been said to be the most human of the Primarchs, but this is because he had love. He truly loved his father and brothers, as a family would. Even when he had the opportunity to end the insane Conrad curse, he could not, for he loved even him, his greatest strength and weakness. The Emperor, now trapped on the throne, revealed that he
Also considered human's greatest weakness.
had not only been expecting Vulkan, but had
And
been
strength.
guiding him the entire journey, and had been the force that compelled him to construct the Talisman of Seven Hammers. Vulkan became horrified at the revelation of what he had created, a doomsday device. He loved to build, not destroy. How could his father ask him to make such a thing? It was because the Emperor trusted his son. Even on the plains of Nocturne he saw his humanity, and he knew only Vulkan could be trusted with the responsibility of it. Keeping his existence a secret, save for a select few during the Siege of Terra, Vulkan held his post at the Eternity Gate until Magnus the Red and a group of his 1,000 sons had infiltrated the Imperial dungeon to kill the Emperor. Vulkan blocked a lethal blow by Magnus's staff that had been intended for the Emperor upon the Golden Throne, but quickly backed down, and alongside his father, they bid Magnus to return to the Imperial fold. Vulkan and Magnus were once friends, and he desperately wanted him to rejoin them. But Magnus refused the offer to return after the Emperor told him he would have to purge his legion. Vulkan pitied his brother. In his shoes, he would have made the same choice. But he had no choice, and battled Magnus. The duel was furious, and Magnus's abilities almost killed Vulkan. But he was saved from a decapitating blow thanks to the sacrifice of Igen Gargo. Again, Vulkan had a friend die for him. A primordial rage consumed Vulkan, and he unleashed a torrent of blows so strong that not even the powers of Magnus could stop it. He had beaten the Crimson King into a bloody pulp. Such was the retribution of the physically strongest Primarch, but this resulted in his brother's allegiance to chaos. Vulkan had protected his father and held his post until tragedy struck. The Emperor had slain Horus, but was so mortally wounded he was interned on the Golden Throne. A corpse Emperor.
Wait, then where is Sanguinius? I heard that Sanguinius, like, took a blow or something meant for the Emperor. Or
It
something
had
like
been
that.
1,500 years since the end of the Horus heresy. Over time we all change. But what defines your character is the ideals you stand by throughout life. Vulkan had learned compassion, love of craftsmanship, and most importantly, humanity on Nocturne. That even as a warrior in the Great Crusade, he still put his life at risk for others, even when he did not have to. That even when he had the brother who tortured him at his mercy, he spared him. That not even death could stop him from fighting for humanity. That he wanted to create, to craft, and not destroy, even going so far as to destroy many of his own creations in fear of their misuse. The time of the Emperor and the Primarchs almost seems like a distant memory now. One by one were the loyalist Primarchs gone, leaving Vulkan, the last son in the Imperium.
So, there's 3 known alive ones now, right, though? I know it's Gilliman, Vulkan, and someone else.
A likely very lonely existence. The Imperium now was not the same since the heresy, mired in politics and infighting. I think all of these factors led Vulkan to the deserved conclusion that he had enough of war, its cruelty and destruction. For in peace sons bury their fathers, but in war fathers bury their sons. Vulkan would be seen last in the Imperium in the disastrous War of the Beast. The Imperium had become threatened by an orc war the size of which had never been seen before. The Imperium was on its knees, and they needed help, and they turned to Vulkan, who'd been watching over the planet of Caldera, the place of his greatest failure during the Great Crusade. Vulkan was tired of being a warring general, but once he heard that the orcs were amassing on Ullanor, he knew the situation was dire. In the Imperial assault upon the world, Vulkan confronted the Beast, an enormous orc warboss who matched his strength in combat. Seeing no other way, he detonated the generator, causing a chain reaction that shattered the Temple Gargant and seemingly obliterating them both. Vulkan was presumed dead by the Imperium. However, the Salamanders still hunt him in the 41st millennium. They believe he will return to them after they have found all 9 of the artifacts of Vulkan. The Lord of Drakes is without doubt one of the greatest champions of the Imperium.
Is it true, though, that the Ultramarines went and found all the 9 artifacts? Oh, like, what was it, like 8 of the 9? Like, the Vulcan's fleet basically found 1, and in that time that they found 1, the Ultramarines found all the other ones, or something like that.
The most
They either found them all, or they found like all the rest of them. Oh, that was a TTS joke. But he's back, right? I thought he was alive.
all the Primarchs, and I have no doubt out there in the grim darkness of the far future, Vulkan lives.
I thought he was back alive. Well, that was really good. This was Amber King. I think Wasn't this the one you guys were all like telling me to watch? Why does this say old? Is there a new lore? Guile and Lion so far. Apparently the Amber King really likes him. Yeah, give him a light. Give him some scribbles. Can't bell him though. I only watch this, mostly watch this stuff when you guys ask me to. I'm not really big, I like to read my lore. Although I do appreciate a lore drop video. So that's why I will scribbles to him. He did a really good lore drop video.
Don't forget the Salamander shorts.
I'll watch the joke shorts. Good gosh, you guys. I'll watch some of them. Because this is like an hour long. What did we do? Like, almost 2 hours of react?
I am Vulkan, Primarch of the Salamanders. I have returned to help save the Imperium. I heard the Black Vipers were successors to my legion.
This traitor is talking to me. Can I shoot him?
Okay, this one's gonna need some patience. Covenant of Fire,
Papa Cole!
huh?
We like burning thing.
Sounds about right.
Nothing books. Did you hear about the glory of the God Emperor?
You know, you remind me of someone. Dragon spears, huh?
I wonder who he reminds him of.
Dragons are cool.
Thank you, Great Vulkan. Would you like to join me and my brothers as we feast on our dead tonight?
Oh, this started so well.
This started
Okay.
so well.
What's your weird spin?
I'm basically a salamander, except I switch fire for water.
This is acceptable.
Yeah. Sounds acceptable. If that's the only weird thing you got going for you, then there are worse things. That is funny though. Alright, we'll watch one more of these. Oh, I've seen this joke before. I want to see this joke. This one sounds, I've heard it's funny. Get the flamer!
The heavy flamer?
What?
The heavy flamer?
In this economy? Are you crazy?
In this economy?
I just thought.
It's bad enough that our chapter serfs are unionizing. Now you're suggesting we waste valuable flamer fuel. This stuff doesn't grow on trees, you know.
But that's how it normally goes. That's the usual format. Nobody ever wants a lighter flamer upon being presented with the option for a flamer.
Yeah, well, I do. Get me the lightest flamer possible, and if you use more fuel than necessary, so help me, I'll make sure you have to be the designated driver at Brother Eurodelis' birthday party.
Cheapskate.
Cheapskate. It's just That's funny. Rah. Alright. I don't want to end stream now. Bruh. I really liked it. Chat. It's a short? Is it a Warhammer short?
If they wanted a small flamer, they should have just yanked on Bokka's tail.
No, that would be the biggest flamer. That's a bit heavy fire, yo. I got down on that beat. Only English subtitles. What the hell? What do you have me watch? Why are we watching a squirrel? Explain this.
The backer was elected to stream, not to read.
He's like, hungry! He's like, yeah! And he's like, eat! He's like, no! He's like, why? And he's like, expensive! He's like, wine! He's like, yeah! He's like, expensive! He's like, doesn't matter! That's a true drunk statement. Nah, you say alcohol's never too expensive, dude. That's the only reason I'm allowed to drink in this house. Because my dad knows that I see alcohol as empty calories / expensive soda. Tastes really good, it's nice. But it's too expensive, and then I have to watch my weight for like an entire day afterwards. Well, technically, alcohol is expensive ketchup and fruit juice and soup, depending on what you drink.
Still need to stay up for 2 hours. I hate New Year.
Yeah, didn't you know whiskey's ketchup?
What would the New Year's bokathedragon cocktail be?
Oh! Are you telling me to make a cocktail?
And boka is lizard.
No, shut up. I will make a cocktail. Listen now! You start with Captain Morgan's spiced rum. Add... Give me a sec. I'm thinking.
Weird taste.
Add black tea. And
If you're ending then, hug boka bokath 1 pat bokath 1 heart.
vodka. But not just any vodka. The cheapest. Vodka. And then
You lost me at spiced rum and tea.
No. Keep listening, keep listening.
Why the cheapest?
Because that is the Russian way. And spiced rum is the pirate way. And then a little bit of Irish whiskey. And a splash of Coke. That's for the morning. For the night, you get Fireball, but not just any Fireball. It has to be the most dragon-like Fireball. It's gotta burn your throat. And rum chata. And
Cause cause my vodka costs at least $100 for 0.5 liters.
And no, I'm not done yet. And a tiny bit of Irish whiskey. A splash of Irish whiskey. And that will be called the Dragon Knockout Drops. The first one is called Draconic Iced Tea.
So a cosmonaut Long Island?
Ooh, is that what that is? I mean, yeah, sure. But the other one is a dragon knockout drops. Because each of these, I want you to know, each of these has to be in a big glass. You can't. It's not a small cocktail. It's a big cocktail, and it can only be $5. If you charge more for it, you're just being a dragon. To a dragon, which is
Fox,
illegal.
I wish a good new year, you little dragon crown before flower.
No, my New Year's already ruined. I have to go work. I don't get to hang out with you guys. We don't get to party. We only get to have fun. You're all drafted tomorrow. You all have to hang out with me. If you're not there, I'll cry.
Yeah, no shit, I work in 6 hours again.
But when you get back home, you go to sleep, and then you wake up, and then you join stream. So I'm just gonna stream all day.
Next birthday's subathon backer is mine, drinking and probably passing out on these nightmare cocktails.
I don't have the money for those cocktails. I joked about the price because of that.
I work tomorrow a 14-hour shift, so no, I not join stream.
You better. Better. Freaking better. Better say hi. Better say googly smirgly and burgly largly.
May we end?
Why must we end? Why can we not? Anarchy.
I try to say hi.
Acceptable.
You have work, Bokath one lurker.
I do. Who said I was smart?
Cause listen to Boka gets me sleepy. Boka has beautiful voice that makes me sleepy if she not screams.
Do I? Why really? No, I don't. Don't lie. I don't have a beautiful voice. My voice is weird.
Time to start a riot while playing tic-tac-toe on Baka's forehead.
No! Can't even get to my forehead. My hair is blocking it. Ha 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 ha. I love that that's the 69th quote. That's funny. Hee hee funny number with hee hee funny quote. And it's a Boka original. How nice.
We can play 3 rounds of tic-tac-toe at the same time on Bokos's forehead.
Where are you seeing this forehead? My forehead is not that big. My forehead's about as big as
It's okay,
the opening
we will
of
use
the
the
jaws.
space your nose was supposed to be.
My nose is right there. Stop.
Voldemort?
Are you guys bullying me so I'll go to sleep?
Is that you?
Shut up. No, it's your mother. See what you guys did? You broke me. I went back to the mother jokes.
So it's bigger than your chest.
No, it's not!
Say that again.
Bigger than your father.
Say. Boka, welcome to chat on a daily basis.
Boka, welcome to chat on a daily basis. Okay.
They both smaller than me but taller than you, at least my father. So Voldemort had relations with the Irish dragon and this was the end result.
That is so uncalled for. That is so uncalled for. All of you in timeout. As kobolds, we celebrate together and we take punishment together. Go. Dragons do not, though. We're selfish.
Sobered Boka lizard, and do you remember Voldemort's pet?
The snake? Are you trying to call me a snake?
Love you, Baka Bull.
Hi, bloody.
Kinda yeah. Hug hug Boka Bokath, one heart.
I don't get to have a good, awesome New Year's Day, bloody. I was actually excited this year that I was gonna have a New Year's Day with chat. Wow! Wow! Look at the belly. Chat, you need to make me this promise. You make me as popular enough that I can stop working by the end of the year next year. I want to be able to say that I quit. I want to be able to give my 2 weeks notice.
_no.
I want to be able to stream all day. I want to go back to streaming all day.
No promises.
I like when I go to ask chat, they're like,
What do you mean? We had a great 7-hour New Year's stream with our favorite backer. Work is fun even when you are known worldwide.
I like how y'all all are always telling me, oh, Boka, you're gonna get so popular, you're gonna be so big, then we're gonna leave you and stuff. And I'm like, no, don't leave. And then I'm like, I'm never gonna get big. And then the one time I'm like, guys, promise me I'll get big. You're all like, no promises, Boka. Not gonna say that, Boka. No, refusal. You guys just live to contradict me.
Never said that, foo. Never did promise that I stay.
Oh, you didn't you don't need to promise you'd stay. I'm chaining you to the floor. When I get popular, I don't care how big I get. If you leave, I'll cry. Those that remain will never hear the end of it. I'll be like, where's Roy? Where?
PFFT.
You're gonna see a short on YouTube where it's like, just me like laying to the side going, Roy! You can!
You forget me after 2 weeks.
You don't understand the level of pettiness a dragon will go to. I'll remember you out of spite. See you in 5 months, motherfucker.
Yeah, when Boka hits 69k followers, I'll have to find a new small streamer to work with.
You wish. You're chained to me forever, Lock-On. You're chained to my tail.
That's my special power. I'm pretty good at people forgetting me.
Your special power means shit to me. Lock-On thinks they get to leave, but nope. Chained to my tail.
Wanna try it out?
Here's the thing, Roy. If I remember you, you owe me. You owe me eternal loyalty and gratitude and a brownie every day. Because that's the only way you'll ever get me to forgive you.
Lock-On, can we swap places? I want Dragon Tail. That's a whole new meaning to the old ball and chain Lamau.
are rockets hitting near you, Roy? What did you do to the general populace? You insult them like you insult me daily? Because you don't understand, Roy. I'm very forgiving. You don't understand.
Cause I life in the city.
You're not supposed to be allowed to shoot rockets in the city. Where are your cops? That or Russia's crazy. You guys are built differently. In Russia, we shoot rockets in city. Last in New York. You can, if you live in New York, I pray for your safety. And I apologize for your wallet. And I wish it well on its last voyage into the depths.
All good, I already shot 9 rockets back.
What the hell? That was short. Roy's out here going Russian on the Russians.
Thanks.
You'd be like, that's a rocket. Fires 9 back. That's a rocket. It's a New Yorker! Hey, I'm walking here. A lot of people to hit, so why not? That's dangerous. When was Roy not dangerous? Somewhere over the rainbow, two birds fly at your window. Yes, I know. Good God, Boka.
Boka, since it seems you're sticking around, can you react to the Super Smash Brawl misheard lyrics vid?
Alright, that video is so corny. I saw it off stream, and that is so corny. Why do you like corny things? Explain to me. We're gonna watch it, but it's... I honestly don't know how we make a video out of that. I'm gonna be honest with you. It's just so corny. It's so corny.
Bokath 1 Cree 2, but it's a funny part of my past. Roy, we accept your declaration of war. Prepare for us to light up our window. Since it's sorry, I'll allow it.
This has got to be the corniest video. This is like a one-time laugh. The rest of the time you just cringe. but bread. Which is hilarious because I hear sheet. The one thinks that they probably PG-13 this. That's not how you spell that. There you go.
Okay, please keep in mind, this is from 13 years ago.
Doesn't stop it from being silly cringe. But it's okay. It's acceptable. I won't roast you. Normally I would roast. You can survive today. Only because you're Ari. In the name of the gecko? But I'm not a gecko. Like you could say in the name of the dragon. In the name of the Lord Boka. Or Lordess Boka. What do you say when you think of that? Is it like is there a Lordess? Do you call Lordess if it's a female lord? Or do you call it Duchess? Look at the Duchess. It's funny, it could have been way worse. I mean, yeah. I didn't say it was bad. I just said it was corny. Roy's like, I'm off to war. See you later, Boka.
Boka, I could have told you to react to the last song I put into songs.
I'm not even gonna look.
A good way to end the year before the year Boka will react to the Choose Your Partner video.
Choose Your Partner video? Why do I not want to do that? Why do I feel questionable when I hear Choose Your Partner? Why does that sound questionable to me? My danger sense is tingling. My dragon senses are warning me away from this.
All hail our maiden Duchess the Salamander Boka. It's safe for YouTube, lol.
That's not saying anything. Have you seen the decrepit side of YouTube? Have you seen kids' YouTube? With the pregnant Spider-Mans and the birthing Spider-Mans and the pregnant birthing Elsas?
Exactly, it's not that bad as that stuff, so it's all good.
I love how Roy's like, hey, yo! By the way, no one send me any surprise gifts for New Year's. Not allowed.
I got a triple hit him getting better.
I ain't talking to you, Roy. I already know you won't. The people that I'm talking to know I'm talking to them. Take care of yourselves. I know, I'm not your favorite, Roy. I understand that. I'm not even in your top 5 anymore. I'm like 80,000th.
Oh no, guess I'll refund that year's worth of brownies.
Hey, we can talk about this. We can talk about this. Wait, how?
The only gift you need is me wishing you a happy new year. You're welcome.
Like, the dragon part of me wants to say, wow, how cheap. But me, I'm happy, thank you. Although I'm not gonna have a happy new year because I have to work. And I'm gonna be so dreadfully tired when I get back. There ain't no way I can fix the watch time. At least not right now, because I'm just... Every time I start to work on that, I get stressed out. Because none of it makes sense to me. Arf, arf. I love how I have to do work, even on my... Should we raid someone? Who should we raid?
You help
Yeah,
launch new authors.
thank you
You even got us
guys.
back in the bookstores.
I'm sorry we can't stream all
Wait,
night.
Vulkan.
What? What do you want?
Vulkan.
What? I'm waiting.
Let me just go grab my drink from the kettle then. Let's go.
Alright.
Vulkan.
I swear to everything that is draconic and brownie.
Vulkan.
How many are present? We got what we
Hug,
need.
hug, hug, Vulkan. Hope you have
myself,
an okay
Sebastian,
New Year's.
Rai, and Natsuki are still present at the moment.
Happy
One has
New
just gone
Year,
away to
Brutus
do
Dragon.
something,
God
so
damn
I
it.
think we'll
Frick
run
you
with
all.
who we have
Okay.
now,
Consume the water.
and then
Frick
if
you.
we can get to the last
Jingle
one
bells
this
and whatever
stream,
crap.
we'll have everyone
Smoke bumba.
be present for that for the last.
Thank you all for
raid.
coming. Thank you all for the and towers. Thank you all for oh yeah, you make me feel very wonderful and happy. And remember, Boga is always cheering for you. Except in this particular case where frick
Also, thank you for the follow, Wadi.
Smoke bumba.